Okay, this video is about how to translate from words to English words, that is, to math language. We have talked a lot in class about how learning math language is very much like learning a regular language. There are rules to it, and there's also exceptions, so we're going to talk about those. Let's start with our first example. Let's look at 8 times 3. Now, in English, we always start on the left and work our way to the right. So if I'm reading this, I would read it as 8 times 3. When I translate it into math, I do the same thing from left to right. So 8 is simply the number 8. Times is the operation, and 3 is another number. So 8 times 3 is the same in math as 8 with the time sign and the number 3. Alright, now, as you're working these, there's a couple words you need to watch out for. They are the answer words for the different operations. For example, you have sum. That is the answer to an addition problem. You have difference, which is the answer to a subtraction problem. You have product, which is the answer to a multiplication problem. And you have quotient, which is an answer to a division problem. Whenever you see these words, you are supposed to use these grouping symbols. And we talked about that in class. We have those type of grouping symbols, these type of grouping symbols, and then these, which is our parentheses right here, our brackets, and our braces, with parentheses being the most popular. So we're going to use our grouping symbols in order to write this in math language. The difference of 8 and 3. If we see these words, we know that it's going to go in parentheses, and what goes in the parentheses is what follows it. 8 and 3. 8 minus 3. Now, this problem wouldn't normally need parentheses, but remember, we are just translating. We are not solving or evaluating these expressions. Therefore, this is how it would be translated into math language. Let's try another one. Now, for this problem, I again notice that there is a special word, which is one of our answer words. That's the word product. So I know I'm going to be using parentheses. And this time we actually have two operations, product being the multiplication part. So I have 12 times 4, the product 12 and 4, but then I'm going to subtract 10. So it's really important that you put the special words, sum, difference, product, quotient, in parentheses and then finish the rest of the problem. So this would be the product starting from the left, moving right. The product of 12 and 4 minus 10. Here's the product of 12 and 4 minus 10. As with any language, there are always exceptions to the rule, and we're going to discuss a couple of them. The first one is when you see the words more than or less than. Let me put up this example so you better understand why this would be an exception to the rule. So if you'll see here, I typed up a problem that says Mrs. Logan has $40 less than Mrs. Phillips, who has $100. So logic would tell you the way that you're supposed to write this, but if we follow the rules of math language where we start left to right, you might be wanting to write it based on those rules as 40 minus 100. But that doesn't make any sense. So when you see more than or less than, and in this case we see less than, we're going to let our logic take over here, and we're not going to write it in order because it makes sense to say $100 and Mrs. Logan has 40 less than that. So 100 minus 40 would actually be the expression to express what we're trying to say in English, that Mrs. Logan has $40 less than Miss Phillips, who has 100. So when you see more than and less than, you actually just reverse the numbers. For example, We have 6, and here's one of the words, more than 52. So the way, instead of going left to right, we actually see that it's more than, and it's our exception to the rule. We're going to write 52 first, and then add 6 after. And that would be the correct way to do that. So it's the exception to the rule. All right, so our next exception to the rule is when you see the word then. This word here. Because then is a time word and means that they want you to do something, then something else, a sequence word. You've seen that in reading all the time. So in math, we would start left to right unless we see one of our more than or less than. But we see the word then. So we want to put in parentheses before so that it tells the person the math that's supposed to be done first. Let's read it together. 20 minus 2, then multiply by 40. They want you to do 20 minus 2 first, then you're going to multiply by 40. So if you just wrote it out without the parentheses, order of operations would tell you they have to do multiplication first, and we are not supposed to do that based on what they say. What they want us to do is do 20 minus 2, then multiply by 40. But if we don't put our parentheses in, we won't know to do 20 minus 2 first. So really, we're going to put our parentheses around the operation that we're going to do first, and then you write in what comes after that. 20 minus 2, and then multiply it by 40. All right, here's another example. It's in red. 35 increase by 9, then divide by 6. So again, I'm looking for my first words, which were the answer words. If they're not present, then I'm going to look for some exceptions to the rule, and I do see one. There's the then. So I put over here a little hint right there. Put parentheses around the words that are before then. So if I were to write this out, I'm going to do 35, increase means to add, then 9, so left to right, still going left to right because the only exceptions are more than and less than. I'm going to put it in parentheses because it's telling me to do that first, then divide by 6. Our last exception to the rule are the words subtracted from or added to. Let me give you an example. All right, so we're going to read from left to right. It says 70 subtracted from, keyword from, that's why I'm pointing it out, it's another exception, 360. So remember, you're taking away from 360, so therefore it's 360 should be written first, 360, and we're going to subtract from 360, 70. So it's kind of like more than and less than in that you're going to reverse the order of the numbers. Instead of going left to right, you would then write the words that follow the word from, follow the word more than, and follow the word less than. The same is going to be true for if you had added to. 5 added to 80. Remember that we're adding 5 to the number 80, so 80 would therefore come first, and then plus 5 because that is the operation. So, normally you would read left to right and translate it exactly. You're going to look for those answer words of quotient, difference, product, and sum, to put those in parentheses. Then you're going to look for the words more than, less than, then, subtracted from or added to because those are exceptions to the rule and you have to do something else. All right, good luck.